Yes.
Shante, is that your name? I remember. Shante, maybe up here you could help Shante find her name. Turn it over there and make sure there's one for Denise too. And thank you so much for your assistance. Oh, Denise, no, that's Thomas. So you all may be having a nice time chatting, but the people at home are just sitting there looking at us. So, and we now have quorum. Thank you for showing up to make quorum happen in person. And I am going to call the meeting to order. Abir is helping us with name cards. Make sure you find yours. They exist. Thank you for the cheese and crackers. Sorry, all of you at home. I got it. Thank you. All right. The first item of business is approval of the agenda, but we are making a change to the agenda. And as you got an email from me saying that we are postponing until next meeting, the approval of the minutes from the 10/25 meeting, transitioning from one secretary to another is a formidable job. And we were unprepared for that, supporting that transition. So we need to do more work on the minutes. Look for those with the invitation to the next meeting. So I need a motion to, and I'm, oh, sorry, I got to do this. You can't see them. Need a motion to, I think the motion would be to postpone approval of the minutes to the November 29th meeting of the Senate. Could I have a motion for that? Denise, go ahead and.
Motion to move the minutes from 10/25 to 11/29.
Sounds good. Second?
Can I second?
Erica can second? Yes, you're a senator also.
Christy, I'm sorry, what was the motion on the floor? It was hard to hear.
So, try again, Denise.
Okay. Motion to move the minutes from last meeting, 10/25 to 11/29.
So approval of, go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
don't say approval, just say vote or discussion, just, as opposed, just keeping the verb specific as to what we're doing.
So say it better for us. Say it again. Yeah.
So the motion would be, I move to discuss the October 25th minutes and vote next meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right.
To discuss and vote on the minutes the next meeting. And we have a second.
Yes. Second.
And all in favor, say aye. Aye. All right. We have put this in, we did that so that it'll be in the formal minutes of this meeting that we moved the approval of the minutes to the next meeting. So the next meeting on November 29th, we will review and vote on two sets of draft minutes, the minutes from two different meetings. One tiny announcement related to that. We have a new parliamentarian. Erica Correa is the parliamentarian with, she won't mind me saying, strong support from our outgoing parliamentarian, Leslie, who is, so we're going to refer to Leslie as the mentor parliamentarian. And
I'm the novice.
And yes, the novice parliamentarian, but thank you very much. And the parliamentarian role is elected by the executive committee of the Senate. So at our meeting of the executive committee a week and a half ago, we voted to make Erica the parliamentarian. She is trained. Training, but yes.
I'm trained for training, practicing.
Yes. All right. I'm moving ahead with the agenda for today. We've approved, we need to approve the agenda. I changed the agenda. Now we're going to approve the agenda as it is. do I need a motion for that? No,
You do?
I do. Oh,
See?
that's why we have two. Um, so I need a motion to vote on, can I say approve the agenda? No. Yeah, a motion to approve the agenda with the change that has already been approved of the removal of minutes. Someone want to move in that
I
way?
move that we approve the agenda with the change from the additional minutes. Did I see that right?
Yes.
Beautiful. Thank you, Rochelle. A second? Maria, seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Bravo. Thank you so much. All right, we are voting on the curriculum committee consent calendar items from their October 26th meeting. This went out in the email. It's just several, 3 or 4 pieces of material from the curriculum committee. I trust you reviewed it. The main thing to review especially is the description of what changes, the overview page with the rationale for each change. And we will do a roll call vote. Our new Secretary of the Senate is Denise, and she is being supported by the former Secretary of the Senate, Jill, who is helping with attendance and roll call vote today. Are you ready? This is, your name will be called, and then it's your chance to say aye or nay. Yes,
Can I ask?
Roman.
So I see this, there is a natural science department course
Yes.
for the MEC change. But I'm not sure that they do consulting with the natural science department.
Did they consult with the Natural Sciences Department when they made the change? There should be a Natural Sciences representative on the curriculum committee that approved this change.
But what is the course coordinator? They don't know.
So. I need help in addressing this because first. Years ago. A change, and Anthony, you can help me with this. A change was made in our procedure. If there was a question about something in the curriculum file, it needed to come in advance of the meeting, at least 24 hours before the meeting. So you should contact me and Priyanka, the chair of the curriculum committee, with a question. So, and this is a reminder for all, is it 24 hours?
I believe it's 24, and I mean, normally, yeah, that's the way we should do it, but I mean, obviously, as a new senator. we
Right,
could-
we're
We could,
learning.
we could give them a little wiggle room, but yeah, going forward, that's what's supposed to happen, we're supposed to. Inform
Yeah.
the chair and the curriculum committee chair if there's questions, and that's certainly a legitimate question.
And usually, the curriculum committee chair should be present for this vote. Our curriculum committee chair has been very busy. In the past, the previous curriculum committee chair would be present and able to address a question like that on the spot. And I don't know what to do. I don't see Priyanka here, but I am gonna look at something. So it is, yeah, Leslie has said it's called a consent calendar because we're voting on the whole package. And any concerns should have been raised before, which of course, new senators, I'm mentioning it for you all because there are many new senators here today. Do read the curriculum. If you have questions 24 hours in advance or earlier, so we can address the questions before we get here. And no fault on you, Roman, for asking. Yeah, we're all learning. Ian.
I would just, I'm on the curriculum committee, since Bianca's not here. I would just say that what he's pointing to, there was a fairly lengthy and admittedly kind of confused discussion
About
around
that
that
change?
issue. So it's, it's kind of beyond my like immediate concern, so I wasn't like fully like, oh, that's
Paying attention
exactly
to.
what's going on with
Yeah.
it. But there was a lengthy discussion of that matter, so I'm not shocked to hear that there is some.
So do you all understand that the question is a change in a natural sciences course for an MEC program, for a math program?
If the curriculum that was submitted to the Senate is passed and no objections are raised, we can vote on it in the context.
So that, and is that your point? Or did someone, yeah.
I'm
that-
getting-
You're getting a little cute. So, our job is to support the work of the curriculum committee. The curriculum committee has, even if there was concern about that item, the curriculum committee has voted and approved this package. If there are additional concerns, they should probably be raised outside of this process by your department chair or by your curriculum committee rep with the curriculum committee for future consideration, but we've been given this package of material that has been approved by the curriculum committee. Anthony,
Just a question on that. I hate to be the.
are you gonna
pain,
complicate the
I
day?
mean, as a senator, since the natural science department is questioning it, I'm not prepared to say yes on that, so can we remove that one item? I know normally that's what we would do if there was a concern in advance, so could we possibly move that item separate?
Does anyone have the curriculum consent calendar in front of you to see, because there's only like 4 items. Oh, you have it.
I don't have it with me.
So,
Yes, yes, we can remove the item from the package.
yes, we can remove the item from the package. And it is a revised curriculum framework for the computer technology AAS degree.
I
Yes,
have a
Tom?
question. So that doesn't have to do with anything that changed the course in question, just the MEC program. So
The MEC
therefore, it should have nothing to do with natural sciences on how the MEC program wants to use that for their program. If they change the curriculum structure of the course, it has to go through natural sciences department curriculum, which I'm a member of. So if it's not changing that course's structure, just how MEC is using it for the program, whether it's required for or flexible for, I don't think that has any jurisdiction with the natural sciences department.
So natural sciences can't say what MEC does with their course. Then it's, what is do you have a sense of the concern? Is it just by selecting that one course that they're recommending that throws off what's happening in natural sciences?
They actually, I mean, they change the category, which I don't fully understand. The previous one was digital work, now it's alive on digital science.
So, it changes the category that it falls into. It changes what that course counts towards. Okay,
It may idea enrollment.
yeah,
And-
we could have done it wrong. So in we need, yeah, but there's one.
Even if it's on the agenda, is on the curriculum committee when it was passed, then when it was discussed, then I don't know that the Senate should be questioned. Effectively, that's been.
But you just said it was a long discussion, which you didn't remember what
Yeah, but
the
it
thing
was
was on,
passed.
so.
But it was
The
passed.
chairman voted.
It was passed, and it was really, you know, as Thomas is talking about, it was much more a technical matter of like
Yeah.
including this in the curricular framework, right?
Right.
It had nothing to do with the content of the class. It was just, there were a lot of technical discussions around what gets listed and what does not get listed. Were they including a full list of courses or only? It was mainly a question of like, are you pushing students toward this one class, or are you just recommending it among a list of, 6 or however many should be on the list?
Right.
It was really, that was the nature of the discussion. It wasn't like course good, course bad, change course or anything
Right,
like
right.
that.
So, and, yes, Rowan,
So it doesn't change the course, apparently, but it does change the category, which is.
it changes where the credit area where the course
And
falls.
then it may get some, for example, enrollment, so you can still sign up for this class.
So, yeah, Daniel,
I just have a question, to throw in as possible. You're concerned that they're gonna use if the topic's in physics, so you're just concerned that that's now being recommended? I'm just trying to make sure that I understand.
there's our parliamentarian has concern.
Madam Chair,
As we need.
I'd like to raise a point of order. That technically a motion needs to be on the floor
Oh,
in
yeah, I
order
knew
to have
that.
this discussion, but since we did consent to the agenda incorrectly, we can let this go.
We can
No,
let-
since we do consent calendar voting incorrectly.
Oh, we do it incorrectly. So we are discussing an issue without a motion on the floor, because we're trying to determine how to proceed. And, I am not gonna worry right now about that much about parliamentarian procedure, but I'm gonna try to figure out what we do right now.
Excuse me, just because I'm not in the room.
There, yeah, well, you're still,
She's still with.
you're still with us.
Yes.
And Erica's present, and, so parliamentarians, what do you recommend? For our procedure now,
That we move forward
and vote?
with business and vote. Do I have that correct, Leslie?
Yeah, if Anthony wants to raise a motion to remove the item from the package, he can, and if it passes with a second, then that's what we would vote on. If no one wants to raise that issue, we would vote on the curriculum package as presented.
Okay,
You want to move to remove that item from the consent calendar for now.
Yes.
so hold on, we need a second, and then we'll discuss.
Can I say second?
Yes, you can say second, Roman second. So do you understand what's happened? So we have, the motion has been made to remove the MEC curriculum framework from the consent calendar, so we would only be voting on one thing and not on the other. And so that motion has been made. Now you are invited to speak for or against the motion.
Correct.
Good?
Correct.
Does anyone have anything to say for or against the motion?
I mean, I just, as the maker of the motion, I just think, because of the confusion, I would just be more comfortable waiting until we knew for sure. I mean, it may be all fine, like Tom said, I mean, it's just the curriculum part, the framework. So it sounds like it's probably okay, but since it's, the department is questioning it, that's my concern. So-
I would like to ask,
Leslie has her hand raised.
oh, Leslie, go ahead.
I just would like to speak about the motion. So Christy, if you have a point, please make it.
Let me make a quick point. Let me make a quick request. Would any of you right now email Dion and email Priyanka? Priyanka's hard to email because you have to look for Dilruption is the name that's in the email, but email them because the question I have is how urgent is this issue? Because at times they're trying to get curriculum through the Senate so it can be there in time for the Board of Trustees to approve, so whatever is happening can take effect. It also might be that we meet again in 3 weeks, and maybe the 3 weeks isn't gonna make any difference. But if it does, I wanna make sure we know if we're really hamstringing a process that's underway. And Dion, whose last name I can't even think of, thank you, is over the area. Priyanka is the head of the committee, and we need both of their input in this regard. So we are going to wait to see if there is word about that. No?
Leslie.
Oh, I already have a
Leslie and
motion.
Rebecca have their-
Okay, Leslie first and then Rebecca.
Okay, there's an active motion on the floor and it has
Yeah.
been seconded. So now the motion belongs to the body. In order to move this away, you have to get a motion to postpone. If you
Oh, okay.
postpone later in the meeting, we can vote then. If somebody moves to postpone indefinitely, it goes away.
Okay. Has anyone heard from Dion Miller or Priyanka?
Calendar in our email. Deadline for submission in the College Senate Curriculum Committee email that was sent out by Priyanka. In which we have the dates. I don't know.
The question, probably the question is, there is a set calendar, but what we don't know is how urgent this particular item is. Rebecca, go ahead.
I happen to know that this coming Thursday is the last day anyone can present anything at the college-wide curriculum committee to be implemented next year in fall 2024. So there's a deadline coming up to be in the chancellor's report, etc., all the way a year from now in fall 2024. So if this needs to be in that, it is urgent.
Yeah.
In that the last time anything can be presented, and I know because I'm presenting something tomorrow at college-wide curriculum, is tomorrow. So the next time we vote is the final vote we can take before that deadline.
Are you on the curriculum committee?
I'm not. I'm just presenting something for my program. But I know the deadlines right now because of that.
Yes.
But that also most likely takes into consideration the fact that that would have to be approved at the next meeting,
Right.
whatever they're approving next week. So we still should be okay if we approve it at the next meeting. Just,
Yes, we would be. I'm making sense of this now.
Yeah,
and we
that's what
would be.
I was trying to do, but
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes,
If this motion comes to a vote, it should start as a voice vote. If
okay,
someone calls division, then we can suggest another form of voting.
okay. Yes, Elizabeth,
said the outdoor, and you said it is urgent.
it is urgent,
Yeah.
which I trust your judgment, but yes. Okay, so the motion on the floor, which we are now going to vote on, is do we pull this item from the consent calendar and only vote on the other? If we did that, this item would have to be reconsidered and may show up on the consent, at the Senate meeting on the 29th.
Madam Chair, you have a question from the Zoom audience?
Yes, Rebecca?
Sorry, the other item is just an informational item, so it's not going to require a vote in the way that the item that's under discussion would require. So if you're removing the MEC revised curricular framework, I don't think there's a vote needed because the other one's an informational item.
Yeah, the other is an informational item. Maybe more? Yeah, there's. From natural sciences. She's one for that over there. But it's like.
Could you return from exercises about?
About the reassignment of one natural sciences course in the NEC program. So 3 classes, like, which one?
They don't like it or it's.
The course coordinator doesn't know about it. So the course coordinator, yeah, that's one role, so, thank you. So, do,
consider, if the other vote, if the other item doesn't need to be voted on.
Yeah.
I'm willing to withdraw the motion to take it off. I will say I'm abstaining on the vote for curriculum then, because I'm not sure how we're doing this, so, but I'm willing to take the motion back so that we keep it together.
can a motion be taken back?
If the body moves to postpone the vote, it requires a 2/3 majority.
Oh, 2/3 of you have to agree to postpone the vote. And my recommendation would be the later in the meeting, but I think we know what we know now. And the motion has been withdrawn. Is that okay? Good. The motion has been withdrawn. So the motion on the floor is to approve this curriculum consent calendar to make the change in the MEC curriculum framework for an AAS computer science degree. As it stands, which we are now, we don't have a motion on the floor. What's, Elizabeth, more information for us?
This is enlightening, by the way, about how, she writes, I tell her. I told her that there's concern for natural sciences about the assignment of SCP 101. Course coordinator doesn't know about the change, does a chair or program director know?
Good job.
Should, that's why they have a rep on the curriculum. What do they mean by reassignment?
Meaning it's in a
I mean,
different,
Counting for a different thing,
it's,
different category.
You can,
Yeah, it's counting for a different category.
so go ahead, Daniel.
No, I'm sorry, I just try to get clarification. So you're concerned that the way I read it is that they have to take a science class and they're just being recommended, take topics from physics as opposed to the topics of biology, topics of neuroscience, or the other topics. So that's how I read it.
Yeah.
And that this would, the benefit would be it's pushing more students. There might be an uptick in enrollment in. That's what I read it.
So
So I just was trying to do some clarification from Roman's point of view.
Yeah. Thank you, Daniel.
I just see this as we're just voting on the calendar.
But calendar's the wrong word here.
Right.
We're voting on a package,
Okay,
right, which is actually this time just one item. The other item is an information.
correct.
So we are voting for final approval on this curriculum framework that has been approved already by the curriculum committee.
Yes.
With the question, right, raised by a natural sciences faculty member. So, mindful that there is usually some urgency to get things approved so that they can get approved by the Board of Trustees and be in the catalog in time to take effect. Mindful there is a concern raised, mindful that the curriculum committee has reviewed and approved and discussed, as Ian has said at length, but has approved this, sending it to us, mindful of all those things. We need a motion on the curriculum consent calendar. Elizabeth?
I move to approve the curriculum calendar.
Yeah. Do we need a move to approve or to vote? That's what I'm.
I believe we need a motion.
Approve.
Move to approve the curriculum consent calendar.
And I move to approve the curriculum consent calendar.
Is there a second?
I second.
Oh, who was,
Rochelle.
oh, Rochelle. Okay, Rochelle, Elizabeth is moved, Rochelle seconded. This'll be fun for you all. We do a roll call vote, which means you get to own your vote. All right, this is, do you approve? If it's aye, it's yes. No is a no, or you can abstain, which is no vote, right?
Yes,
Good?
yes.
Okay, Jill?
This is my first roll call vote with this new Senate, so if I mispronounce your name, please. I'm really bad. I have a Long Island accent, really bad. So help me out, please. Senator Correa. Aye. Yeah. Senator Pappas.
Abstain.
Senator Hashim. Senator
Aye.
Senator Riccia.
Senator
Aye.
Reed? Oh, thank you, I'm glad.
Thank you. Senator Skamaka.
Aye.
Senator Howard. Aye. Senator White.
Right. Aye.
Thank you. Senator Calandria. Aye. Senator Davis. Aye. Senator Johnson.
Aye.
Senator Isaac.
Aye.
Senator Flores. Senator Ilkanda.
Aye.
Senator McDermott.
Aye.
Senator Z. Senator Stenhoff.
I'm abstaining.
Senator Cook.
Aye.
Senator Kehoe. Students. Senator Apon.
Aye.
Senator Aziz.
Not, correct.
Yeah, abstain.
Oh, yeah. Senator Azim,
All senators should have their.
oh,
video.
yeah. Student, good job, you got it on what rule, yeah.
Senator Jara.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right.
We'll work on that. Long Island is pronounced very good. Senator Mukebi. Aye. We can meet after the long break together. Senator Ortega. Aye. Senator Pichardo.
Abstain.
Senator Robinson. Senator Sim.
Aye.
We have two senators. I apologize. In person.
Other senators said must have stepped out.
She's online.
Oh, is she online, senators, the others?
Esther is online.
So John, are
I think
you,
it's.
She said yes in chat.
Yes, oh, okay.
but there, so.
Yeah, I
there's
think I also heard her say it as well.
Esther's.
Oh, yeah, there's Esther.
So Joan Sid's vote in person, so she stepped down.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, and then chairperson's right.
Should be.
Oh, aye. Sorry. Esther. Okay. Esther is a senator. I thought her name was easier. Okay, the consent calendar is approved with 2 votes in abstention, and I'm gonna encourage the curriculum. Oh, yes, that's right. Thank you. And I'll encourage the curriculum committee chair to attend the meeting, but also as a reminder, make sure you look at the curriculum, and if you have questions or concerns, 24 hours in advance, and then hopefully we can address them earlier. It wasn't tied, was it? Right. Was it, what was the vote? The vote was, oh, she's still telling me. Ian?
I think it's helpful just to provide a little more textual information. I'm looking at the item from the last committee meeting. And the note in the framework simply says, just lists like physical sciences options, select 1 course from the following, and it lists 7 courses. And then underneath says students are advised to take SCP 101 as topics are more relevant to computer engineering technology.
So that's the only.
Yeah, and the discussion in the curriculum committee was more, are all of the potential options being listed? It wasn't anything to do with the class being appropriate for the curriculum.
So Jill is counting votes. We are. Man. Forgot, we've got the
5 in favor and 3 abstaining.
good stuff. All right, thank you, Jill. The curriculum consent calendar passes. Right? Right.
Yes.
Okay. Luke, our guest is here already, but we're not ready for you because this took longer than we thought. Although maybe. Let's see how fast we can do the next thing. Are you ready? Committee on committees. We need to elect 7 members to the committee on committees. It is not a secret ballot. It is basically, if you're willing, it's likely you'll be elected. So we need 5 faculty or staff members, 2 student members of the committee on committees. Is there a current member of the committee on committees who is willing to talk about the committee and what you do? No current members of the committee on
Charis
committees.
was the chair.
Charis was the chair. She is no longer a
Right,
senator.
but
And yep,
she
she
could
was
have
the
been
chair.
a voice.
Yeah, so I will attempt to explain the role of the committee on committees. It's a crazy name, but the job of the committee on committees is making sure all the other committees of the Senate are staffed, right? That they have enough members. So it is the recruitment killer, John, welcome. You are the recruitment arm for the committees of the Senate, and there are many. Yes, Patricia.
Can I just say something?
Please.
The work of the Senate takes place in the committees, and for faculty people who have to justify your contributions, being part of the Senate is not enough. If you're on a committee, it gives you more teeth, more evaluation, so please, any member of the member of the committee, also, yeah, part of those committees.
Thank you. All right. And thank you, Patricia. I am going to briefly share my screen and just show you the committee that, and then, yeah. So this is a list of the committees of the Senate. And the committee on committees is one that is, whose role is just to help. It's, I don't know how often they meet, maybe once a month, but especially at the start to try to get a sense of what committees need more members. So we need 5 people, 5 faculty and staff, 2 students. The first task of the Committee on Committees is to elect their own chair, which should happen ideally right after this meeting. So you meet for a few minutes, elect a chair, try to include the Zoom members, if any Zoom members join the committee. That is our next task. I am looking now for 7 volunteers to be candidates for the Committee on Committees. Go ahead. Lisa. Thank you, Lisa Flores. Yeah. And you are the Senator for Health Sciences? Great. Leslie, I see your hand.
I'm nominating myself or throwing myself in the fire, whatever the.
Beautiful. It's a nice fire, hopefully. Thank you, Leslie. Other candidates, including 2 students. So we need 3 more faculty or staff members and 2 students. Silence is good, but time's a wasting. Did you students talk about it? I don't know where the rest of, some of you have left. John, you don't count. No, John is the SGA president. We don't, this is not, he could, but you've got plenty to do. Abir? Thank you. Another candidate, Abir, upon?
Yes, I'm again.
Okay. We need 4 more people, 3 faculty and staff, and 1 more student.
No, not nonsense.
What's on your resume?
Sure. It's a way to get to know people. You can't put it on your resume. You would be working to make that, because these committees, most of them need to have a student member too. So that's why students are also on the Committee on Committees. You can, especially if they're willing. Will you, Aaliyah? You're, okay, Aaliyah is also on the Executive Committee of the Senate, but you can do both. This one isn't too time consuming. If there's no one else. Okay, no one else? Abir's already on, good, or volunteered?
Can I ask what the workload is more or less?
What is the workload more or less? Has anyone served on this committee before?
I've served on it.
I
mean, the last couple of years, I mean, it's basically been meeting online on Zoom and pretty much when somebody wants to be on a committee, they need to make the decision. So like I'm chairing campus affairs. So like, I know some of you had expressed an interest. If you're interested in being on campus affairs, you would go to committee on committees first, and then they would,
make the
approve the name.
recommendation.
So you might just meet online to say, yay, yay or nay, if there's like 3 people for a committee.
Right.
That's all.
Or
It's not,
work on figuring out ways
not that
to recruit more people to join committees.
yeah.
But it's
recruiting
it's not
committees.
it's not a super busy committee. Is that fine? Yeah, unless John's interested, because you have a role. Are you interested, John?
I'll take it if she doesn't.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Aaliyah's already got a role. Okay, so it's all right with you, John. John, Yara,
Yes.
Hara, Morales.
Thank you.
All right. 3 more. This looks, where is everybody? This is like my teacher dream where people just are, I know Erica had to leave. Yeah, 3 more people. Thank you, Elizabeth. Elizabeth Strike, and 2 more. Anyone at home? We have had quorum. We're pretty close to, yeah, we should have one. We did, there's a couple left, but there's a more, yeah, we need 19 for quorum, and I think we're okay. So I am not gonna take more time because there's several other things on the agenda, obviously. And so, it's okay if, so we,
All right.
oh, Amy. Thank you.
Peer pressure.
This is hard. You have to decide on a chair. and the chair's role. A student could be a chair, but it's probably a little harder. It's probably a little easier for a faculty or staff member to be a chair, just to organize the committee, make sure the committee meets, make sure the committee knows the task, and to be the point person, so that when who I can contact to be in touch with the committee. That will happen after this meeting. These are the candidates we have: Leslie, Lisa, Elizabeth, Amy. Amy, you go by Amy.
Yeah.
Amy, Abir, and John. Hearing no more. We are voting. All in favor?
Yeah.
Say aye. Aye. Congratulations. You are now elected to the Committee on Committees. All right. We will move the chair's report to after the guests today. Luke Cardio is here as the college ombudsman and is going to give us a presentation. If we lose quorum, as Leslie has said, the meeting cannot continue, and I think we still have to. I am sure we do still have quorum. It looked a little sparse there, but I know we got it. All right, are you gonna sit down?
You tell me.
You stand wherever you want, and
Okay.
I am going to try to share my screen
Okay.
with your presentation.
Okay.
Go ask, go check the chat. Hold on just a minute while I share the screen, and I think I can make it work this way.
Can I operate from this laptop here?
No, it is me.
Okay, so I'll just call out next slide, please.
Yep, and I am gonna try to be so on it. There we go. All right, can you at home see this as well?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And I am gonna move there. So it doesn't block this. Let's see what. Go ahead.
Okay, hello, Senate. Senate here, Senate at home.
Yep.
Where's the camera so I know who to point to? Oh, it's right there. Hello.
There, yeah.
So this is a first for me, presenting at a high flex meeting. So-called high flex?
Ignore them.
Ignore,
Just-
which
yes.
ones? The in-person or?
The
I got you.
ones that matter most. But it's too hard. You can't think of it.
I got
Go
you.
ahead.
So my name is Luke Cardeo. I am the college's ombudsman. I'm used to saying that the ombudsman term is an obscure term for student advocate. So an ombudsman or an ombudsperson is an advocate. So I am the college's student advocate. And I work in the Division of Student Affairs in the VP of Student Affairs office. Next slide, please. So I wanted to,
Wait, now I have to, okay, do that.
okay, that's it.
We're good, yeah. We got it.
So I wanted to, because this is a newly elected group of senators, and this is a unique body in that it is comprised of faculty, staff, and students. I wanted to come and talk to you for a few minutes about what I do and what the Ombuds office is responsible for. So I'll talk about the role of the office, which includes student advocacy, clarity in terms of policies, both academic and non-academic, and my role as someone who makes recommendations to the leadership of the college regarding practices and protocols that may be challenging or that may impede students' progress. I'll talk about the kinds of inquiries and concerns that students bring to the office, both in the academic and non-academic areas. I'll talk about how the three major cohorts on campus can contact me, that's staff, faculty, and most importantly, students. And I'll talk about the systems and methods and what's currently changing in how folks can communicate with me. And then, of course, includes email. I'll talk about what the online inquiry form is and some of the student-based systems that faculty and staff use, currently SEMS and C2C.
For now.
for now, for right now as we speak.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna go over this list one by one, but this is a comprehensive list of what the office's role is in the larger college community. First and foremost, I serve as an impartial advocate for students who raise concerns, share issues, and ultimately may file a formal complaint. One of my first, I guess, steps in the advocacy process is to gather as much information about any given issue as I possibly can. And then I work to determine which policies, again, academic and non-academic, apply to the issue at hand, and then ultimately determine whether policy has been violated. So there is a very detailed screening and filtering process for every student inquiry, concern, and complaint that comes across my desk. I do make it clear to all of the groups that I present to, and I presented at academic departments, at staff meetings, and to student groups, that while the Ombuds's office has an open door policy, and there are multiple ways to contact me and the office, that when students do make an inquiry, share a concern, or file a complaint, not all issues rise to the level of a violation of policy, and not all complaints are deemed valid. So open door, open ears, but I do make it very clear that just because a student raises an issue or concern does not necessarily mean that it violates policy and warrants advocacy. Next slide. So I'll talk about the two overarching categories of inquiries, concerns, and complaints. First, academic. The most frequent areas of concern that students raise involve academic issues relating to grades. These could be grades on an individual assignment, on an exam or a quiz, or a final grade for the course. Students raise issues about the syllabus, which, as we all know, is our contract with students. And syllabus, of course, must be followed. And academic integrity issues, right, that relates to academic honesty, and any violations of academic integrity when a student is suspected of or accused of academic dishonesty. Faculty have the option of submitting an academic integrity complaint, and that, if we could go back.
I know.
Yes. Well,
I'm sorry.
the other way.
There we go,
Thank you.
there we go.
There is a process that is activated once an integrity complaint is submitted. Students have the option of following the process in place, essentially moving up the chain. Students are required to speak with their instructor first, have the option of speaking with the chairperson thereafter, and ultimately the dean in academic affairs, if they feel that their concerns have not been heard. And students, of course, have the option, when it comes to the final grade for a course, of filing an academic grade appeal. And there's a separate process that governs the academic appeals.
Wait, I'm sorry, it's not, okay. It should be easier than it is.
The moving of the slides
Well, yeah.
or something else?
Oh, that,
Okay.
the other side. Go ahead, go ahead.
Just very quickly, in the non-academic realm, non-academic area, student inquiries, concerns, and complaints relate most to issues that are interpersonal. Oftentimes conflict that occurs among students, with faculty, with staff. There may be behavioral issues that require referral to other resources and areas at the college, and student services, right? The offices that help students with a variety of services, right? Enrollment management areas, support areas. Oftentimes collaboration is called for with a lot of folks. Most frequently what you see on the bottom of the slide There are times when I refer students to public safety, the Title IX and Chief Diversity Officers area, the Wellness Center, the Judicial Review area, if it's a student conduct issue, and certainly the Office of Accessibility, which still houses the formerly called Office for Students with Disabilities. So it takes a village, and certainly we all work together to resolve students' issues. So, as you know, depending on your role at the college, depending on your access to systems, we all use different systems to communicate, to document the work that we do, and to do the work that we do. So I'll just briefly go over how students can reach out to the office, how staff can do that, how faculty can do that. Students right now are directed to the Ombuds Office website, and they have 3 separate means to contact the office: by phone, in person, and by email. We're currently working on what we're calling a student issue and concern form. This is an intake form that would be available online. We're expecting that to go live by the end of the calendar year. And this would ask students to detail in the form that you see on the right side of your screen, the issue or concern or inquiry that they have. And this certainly helps in assisting students put into perspective the issue that they're facing. It also helps our office in the college collect as much initial data as we possibly can. So that's coming soon, and we'll communicate to the community at large when that goes live. As for right now, students are directed to our webpage where they can contact the office in any of the 3 ways that you see listed there. In terms of staff, a lot of our student-facing areas and staff that work with students on a regular basis currently use SEMS, the Student Engagement Management System. So it's here right now. It's not here to stay and will be replaced very shortly. So, for the time being, the offices that work with students can make direct referrals through SEMS, and of course can use the contact information listed on the office's website by phone, by email, or in person. Excellent. Faculty can do the same, right? Again, by email, by phone, or in person. But it's important to note that faculty have access to, in addition to SEMS, what's called C2C, which is an acronym for, it's not an
It says
acronym.
right there.
Connect to complete.
I didn't know.
Oh, okay, great.
Yep.
And faculty are asked to submit any notes or concerns that they have about their students in what's called interventions. So again, I encourage faculty when I go to academic department meetings to submit notes about any concerns that their students have or that they have about their students in interventions. The academic advisors across the areas are the groups that monitor interventions. And that raises an important issue, right? There are students who have concerns, they have inquiries, they share issues that they may have. And more often than not, issues related to policy questions can be handled by the staff and faculty that have contact with them on a regular basis. So I ask faculty to refer students first to their assigned academic advisor, so that if there's an issue that needs to be escalated, there is a direct pipeline for staff and for a lot of faculty to refer students to the Ombuds office. But I would ask that you refer students who have issues or concerns to their academic advisor first. because not all issues and concerns, again, call for advocacy. The last thing, just to kind of piggyback that last slide on how faculty can refer and communicate with the Ombuds office, is a specific slide on the academic integrity complaint form. So at this point, and you see the form on the right side of your screen, when faculty submit this form, it is sent to the student judiciary email address. And again, it activates a process of investigation and ultimately decision. I just want to point out where faculty can find information on the academic integrity process and the complaint process. So the URL is listed on the left side of your screen. And I want to remind everyone that there is a process that is afforded to students when they are accused of an academic integrity violation. Students have rights related to the opportunities that they have to challenge the accusation and to defend themselves against the accusation. Similar to the complaint process in the academic area, students are first given the opportunity to speak to their instructors. They are entitled to a copy of the academic integrity complaint. They are entitled to meet with the chairperson if they're not satisfied with the meeting they've had with their instructor who filed the complaint. They also have the opportunity beyond that to meet with the chief academic integrity officer. Beyond that, right? So, I mean, well, you see the process here, right? Beyond that, they have the opportunity to go to hearing. And beyond that, ultimately, if there is a disciplinary hearing related to an academic integrity complaint, a student has the right to appeal the decision if it does not go in their favor. So there is ample opportunity throughout the entire process for students to continue to challenge the accusation and to seek remedy as far as they possibly can go, culminating in appealing to the president of the college. There is currently, I'll just mention before this last slide, there's currently a college-wide working group on academic integrity and student conduct that is working very diligently in meeting this academic year to clarify and improve the practices and protocols related to both areas, student conduct and academic integrity. And the college community will hear about this as we move into the spring semester. The last thing I want to mention is just kind of sharing what we're hearing from students and what their issues and concerns are. So what are the trends, right? What are the patterns that are coming up? What's the word on the street? If anyone uses that term anymore. I still use that term. Jill Keogh's shaking her head no. Okay, so maybe I can resurrect.
They don't use it a lot.
Oh, okay. So in the academic area, students are certainly sharing concerns about the clarity of attendance and participation requirements. As you all know, the attendance policy for the college, for the university recently changed. Academic departments are devising their own attendance policies for their own programs, their own courses to be listed on course syllabi. And students are sharing concerns that it's not always clear what the attendance policy is in a given class and how that factors into grading criteria. Students are sharing concerns about how courses are organized, whether they're in person or online, how resources are available to them, how far in advance materials are available for assignments, and the instructions related to completing assignments. They're also sharing concerns about deadlines and extension. Some instructors, right, and this is at faculty members' discretion. Some instructors accept work beyond the deadline. Some provide opportunities to submit work beyond the deadline without penalty. There's no policy in this regard. Again, that's at faculty members' discretion. And this is the kind of issue that's raised that's really a non-starter, right? Because again, there's no policy related to altering due dates midstream. Students are a little concerned that in some of their classes, they get extra credit opportunities, yet not in all of their classes. Again, this is a subjective discretionary issue and certainly cannot be mandated. And the one that's really popping up the most relates to faculty responsiveness and office hours. Students are sharing that their instructors are not always getting back to them in what they feel is a reasonable time period, and that office hours are not always consistent and clear. And I saw some of the students nodding their head. I'm assuming this is the student group over here. Some of the students are nodding their heads. In the non-academic area, these things pop up on a consistent basis. Interpersonal conflict with their instructors or a staff member. Students are talking about delays and errors in processes, most notably in enrollment processes. And there have been some issues at the start of the semester related to financial aid awards and how we're communicating with students about how their awards are dispersed, right? Again, think about session 1 and session 2, full-time versus part-time status. And think about our 18-week calendar that's divided into 2 separate sessions. Just a couple of tips based on these trends for faculty and for staff. I encourage faculty to use the syllabus as the powerful tool that it is. The syllabus is always the reference point for any instructor and their class and all of their classes. I've always encouraged faculty to, on the first day of class or during the first week, to discuss what many call house rules, right? The kind of rules for the environment inside the classroom. And that could be something as trivial as how class discussions will be conducted, right? Can anyone who wants to jump in just kind of shout out and jump into a conversation? Or is the expectation that students should raise their hand and wait to be called on, right? The attendance policy and clarity related to that is always a good tip to include on the syllabus and to discuss. And faculty certainly have the option of including statements on their syllabi that assert any topic on the syllabus that may be subject to change, whether that's pacing, the order of material, course objectives, deadlines, and so on and so on. That's always a good statement to include on your syllabus because it gives you, again, a reference point to make changes as we move along. And certainly staff to work with students on a regular basis know that students should be encouraged to get and stay organized, to definitely use professional communication when they are in contact with faculty and staff. Remember the name of the person that helped you, because when you're asking for assistance, it's always difficult to say the lady from the office in that building told me to come here, right? It always puts us at a deficit when we're trying to assist you. And certainly, please help students find the resources that are available for them. When students have policy questions, I always show them where they can find the answer. So let's educate each other about it. And that last slide said, thank you. And if you have any questions or comments, I'm all ears.
Any questions for Luke? Alex?
So I'm wondering, when they fill out, when the student fills out the form, is any part of that confidential?
Well, so if we're talking about, are we talking about the academic integrity complaint form or the inquiry form that my office will use?
I mean, I guess both.
Okay, so the academic integrity complaint form is absolutely confidential. It stays between the student who is accused of the accusation, who's accused of the violation, the instructor who filed the complaint, the chairperson of the department, and the judiciary officer, student conduct officer. The inquiry form that I will use to streamline gathering information, as opposed to just asking students to email me, or faculty and staff to refer students to me by email, will absolutely stay confidential. As a matter of fact, we need students' permission to share specific information that they are disclosing to me, right, to us, before the advocacy process begins. So it's absolutely confidential on both fronts.
Any other questions? Yes, Karan.
How many complaints or inquiries you receive weekly or monthly on the average? Sure.
Well, I'm smiling for a reason. So again, there's a consistent flow of concerns, issues, inquiries. There's certainly busier periods, as opposed to others, right? So the enrollment period, as we get closer to the first day of classes each semester, right? So I'd say before fall one, before spring one, definitely the first 2 weeks of each session, right? So that's September, January, March, and the end of June. And definitely during final exam, busiest period, final exams week, and when grades are submitted. So it's a difficult question to answer. I mean, if I looked at it over a 3-month period, I'd say weekly, I get consistently 3 to 4 contacts, right? And again, throughout the evaluation process, the investigation process, not everything culminates in a formal complaint. But inquiries, issues, concerns, I'd say 3 to 4 weekly on average over a 3-month period. If that kind of pins it down.
Will the process affect my graduation time?
The process of,
A complaint,
if you complained about,
a certain professor, like about my grades, and then I want to appeal them, will that affect my graduation time?
okay, well, an academic appeal might impact your graduation date or your graduation term. I mean, if the grade was not a passing grade, it takes time for the appeals process to conclude. So if it was for a course that you needed to graduate, that a student needs to graduate, and after grades were submitted and you were appealing a failing grade, if it happens in session 1, there should be enough time during session 2, if the decision were favorable, to graduate by the end of that session 2. If not, then it would carry over into the next semester.
Students haven't raised a good point. I just want to follow up on that and
Yes.
say, in terms of affecting their financial aid. So if the student files a complaint mid-semester or close to the end, and that's going to hold up the reporting of the grade, how would that affect financial aid versus if they got an F or a WU or another grade that could, and then it's in the process, and if it is overturned, how does that retroactively affect their financial aid?
So are we talking about appeals specifically and the changes of grades?
Or would it hold up if they're appealing the grade and a reporting of the final grade? How would that affect their graduation or financial aid?
Well,
Is
so
that outside your area or are you know all this stuff?
I mean, I can answer the question. I don't want to speak for anyone else.
Yeah.
But I'll say this. If a final grade is held up and pending, it would most likely be due to an academic integrity issue that is still being adjudicated or working through the process. Keep in mind that an F is an earned grade, and does not impact financial aid eligibility in semester in terms of full-time and part-time status, right? But it may, in terms of satisfactory academic progress and overall GPA to maintain eligibility. Does financial aid eligibility or awards, do they change retroactively if a grade is changed later on? Yes. That's the simple answer is yes.
Complicated. If this is the last question, Genesis?
Right.
How will the student body be informed of when the intake form goes live?
Absolutely. I will. So I'm going to meet with the Student Advisory Council or SAC, who are the club leaders in the next couple of weeks. I'm also going to meet with other student groups, but the student body will absolutely be informed of this. And our plan is to notify the entire college community.
So I would recommend, Sojin Sim is the chair of the Committee of Students for the
Okay.
Senate. If you would also, in her email is
Sure.
on our website. If you would also connect with her, she could inform the student senators and then make sure that you.
Sure. I'll send it to the college senate,
Great,
and we'll make sure that everyone knows.
sounds good. All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so
Thank you
much.
all.
Thank you very much. Our next guest is also here. Vice President Alexis McLean is going to introduce herself to us, the Senate. When did you arrive at LaGuardia, Alexis? June 15th. June 15th. All right. So and we, as formally as a Senate, we haven't had a chance to meet her, so I've asked her to come today. She'll take questions. She'll also tell you about herself. So we can, and what's going on in student affairs. Really? All right, so this is where the camera is, but talk to us, it's gonna follow you. Hi, Michelle.
So it's good to see everyone. Many of you have met me already. I've begun referring to myself as the relatively new Vice President of Student Affairs because it has been several months at this point. I have spent my entire career in higher education in CUNY. I started here at LaGuardia as an adjunct many, many years ago, and then moved to Medgar Evers College and spent about 15 years there before I came here. And so one of the other things that I've said is I'm new to LaGuardia, not new to CUNY, right? And so there are things that are very unique about this culture and very unique about this, good things that are very unique about this institution, but I've come to realize that many of the issues that plague our sister colleges plague us as well. And so a lot of the work that I've been engaged in is work that's really designed to shift our operations and to help us work within the system in which we live, right? To work within the CUNY system. So some of the big things that we've been focusing on is streamlining student conduct processes. And so when I came on board, I spent the first few weeks actually assessing what the conduct operations had been like here. I spoke to a number of faculty in the weeks after that, and one of the biggest concerns that faculty had and currently have is that when things happen, they're not really clear about how the disciplinary process plays out, right? Or what happens when they level a complaint. So what I immediately put into place to some staff members' chagrin was that every single complaint that came to our office would get a response, right? And so what that of course did was highlight or illuminate the dearth of staffing that exists in my office, because we are a campus of 13,000 students, I think 14,000 as of this morning, students. And given the amount of conduct complaints that come in or conduct adjacent complaints that come in, it is really difficult for our staff to ensure that every single one gets a complaint. However, I'm glad to report that every single one since I have arrived, has received a response. Now, what that means is that we've tailored and streamlined our approach to conduct. And so there are some infractions that don't rise to the level of suspension or expulsion. Some that don't even rise to the level of disciplinary probation. But we have formalized our warning process, which is a disciplinary sanction. And we have consistently issued those in cases where it fits. And then we subsequently circle back to the complainant or the faculty person, and we let them know that we've taken care of the issue with the student. As far as what we're working on right now with respect to conduct is ramping up interventions. So my hope or my goal is to onboard an assistant dean within the next few months and subsequently onboard a director of community standards. And their primary goal is really to be educative and proactive with respect to handling student conduct issues. So there'll be a lot of visits to Senate, a lot of visits to faculty council, a lot of meetings with our student leaders and other governance bodies to ensure that we can kind of get in front of conduct issues before they arise. The next really big piece of conduct is really how we mediate conflict. And we have run into both students and faculty who sometimes assume that a conflict rises to the level of disciplinary action. And I have to say, most conflict does not, thank God, right? These are things that can be addressed via a formal mediation, or in some cases, a sit down with me, where I lay out our community standards and the expectations for behavior. And in my experience, not just at Medgar Evers College, but since I've been here, by the time a student sits in front of the Vice President of Student Affairs, they realize, oh my goodness, this is really serious, and I need to shape up. It's made me very tired. I had 2 this morning, but it put the student on the right track and reduced faculty headache, which means it was worth it. In some instances, we've counseled students into withdrawals. That was one this morning, because the relationship with the faculty member is so fractured that it's irreparable. And it's impossible for the student to be able to go on without that dynamic influencing the classroom culture. So a lot of disciplinary work is formalized, but my approach is one where we really come to an agreement or a meeting of the minds that makes both sides unhappy, not happy. Because if both sides are unhappy, that means we did what we were supposed to do. So that's a lot of the work that we've been engaged in on the conduct side. The other thing that we've been really focused on is crisis response, which is paramount, not just on our campus, because we are really on just city blocks, right? We're not in a gated community. And because of that, our students sometimes are subject to the elements of the community in which we exist. And so are our faculty and staff. And so we formed a formalized crisis response team. The Wellness Center, in addition to having members on the crisis response team from the Wellness Center, also has a crisis counselor on call and an alternate on call from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. every day. And so that schedule will change from session to session based on the counselor's availability, but we want to ensure that the crisis response team does not handle all of the crises. There are crises that can be handled or managed by an on-call crisis counselor in the Wellness Center. Another part of our crisis response has been coordinating efforts between student affairs and public safety. A lot of the work that I've engaged in the past few months has been alongside Yvonne Gall and Celicia Hall, for us to really finalize or firm up exactly how we respond to not just conduct.
Say who they are, many
But
people don't know who they are.
I work with them so much, I've seen everybody.
Don't you know?
So
them by
Yvonne
name?
Gall is the director of public safety operations, and Celicia Hall is the lieutenant of public safety operations, or essentially Yvonne Gall's number 2. I speak with them at least twice a day, because they are just always ever evolving conduct and crises that are happening or taking place on campus. And so one of the other things that we have done is formalize the process with respect to what happens from the moment a student files an incident report to the moment they sit in front of me, and in some cases me and public safety, for us to discuss what happens. We are also tightening up when they need to sit in front of me, right? We have a number of students who interact with public safety, and a warning or notification from public safety is enough. And so one of the pushes that I've made, or one of the efforts I should say I've engaged in, is for them to clearly indicate that on the incident report. Because if I get an incident report and it's not clear that it's been resolved, the next step, of course, is my office to reach out. And as you know, we have limited staff, right? So if it's been pretty much taken care of or resolved, what happens is Fedline St. Germain, who's really been phenomenal through this process, sends what we call a resolution email to the faculty member or to the students who are involved. And we let them know we're in receipt of an incident report. However, based on the facts as we know it, this issue has been resolved. If it has not been resolved, please contact us as soon as possible. And in those cases, we have had no one respond and say that it has not been resolved. So an email that takes, and we have a template, an email that takes Fed about 2 minutes to send has now saved us from meetings that can sometimes drag on for 30 minutes or an hour. So that's really how we're trying to tighten up conduct processes, and then of course also trying to tighten up crisis response. The last piece that I'll share with you all is with respect to our programming and our initiatives. One of the very big things that I set as a goal when I came on board was really focusing on mental health awareness. And you know how mental health challenges have pretty much exploded for all of us coming out of COVID. Unfortunately, not unlike our sister colleges, we do not have staffing that can accommodate the challenges that our students have faced. And so what we have begun to do is to ensure that we do a lot of cross-unit work with respect to mental health. So I had a divisional meeting last week. I think Donnie's helped me jog my memory, because it's all a blur. So last week, and I would say about half of that meeting focused on how we are combating the mental health challenges that our students face. So that was a very intentional decision for half of the meeting to focus on that. Because if you are in student affairs, no matter what unit you're in, students' mental health challenges will touch you, right? And they should be a part of the work that you do. So our push to really tackle these mental health challenges and to focus on that is one where it's not just specific to what I call like the central office of student affairs on this campus, but it's something that's specific to the entire division. I'm very, very fortunate because we have a ton of people in student affairs outside of the wellness center who have backgrounds in social work and counseling. As a matter of fact, Dima Bayrakdar is a licensed mental health counselor, and she runs the Women's Center. And so we've been engaged in a number of discussions about how she can use her professional license to serve our students. Because once again, our wellness center, unfortunately, is not always in a position, staffing-wise, to be able to serve students with respect to the amount of mental health related challenges or instances or circumstances that come up. And lastly, with respect to programming and initiatives, there is, I just make no, it's no secret that, you know, housing and food insecurity is something that is very near and dear to my heart. The operation at Medgar College, I worked with, it was a team of 3, and we built that operation from the ground up. And it was hard work. And that is something that has continued to be very important to me. And it is something that I have prioritized when I made the transition to LaGuardia. And once again, very fortunate because Dr. Rhonda Mouton is phenomenal with respect to her efforts regarding outreach about housing and food insecurity. So right now we are literally in the midst of exploring grant opportunities. We're in the midst of exploring expanding our Airbnb initiative as well. And we had an awesome opportunity to interface with one of our partners that provides housing to students that's heavily subsidized in a really, really lovely building not too far from here. And that's a conversation that we had about 2 or 3 weeks ago. So we're trying to scale up and build out all of the ways that we service students that are housing and food insecure. Other efforts include highlighting special groups, the athletes, the students who are registered with the Office of Accessibility, you know, and our veterans throughout my career have also been very special to me because these three groups have challenges that are often very invisible on college campuses. And oftentimes, they find themselves in positions where everyone is not fully aware of how difficult it is, for example, to transition from the military into a very academic environment, or to move from public school where you had an IEP and a para, right, to come to college and not have those things in place for you. So we're just trying to make things not so disruptive for our students. And a lot of that means, as I said before, making sure that everyone is on board. My saying when I first got here was one band, one sound. I quote movies a lot. And that's from Drumline. I say it consistently, one band, one sound. If we're all playing in this key, if someone is off, I will hear it. And the first thing that comes to mind is that you're doing a disservice to our students. And that's the most important thing to me. Throughout my career, I've been very vocal about that. I will steamroll anyone for students, the president included. If something is not good for you all, it's not good for you. And that's actually something that he's been a very big supporter of. And he's been very passionate about. And so that was good to say during the interview that I'll steamroll anyone. He's like, that's right, right? Because I figured I might as well be truthful now. I really don't have, anything to lose. So you all have an administration that's really supportive of your success, and we hope to just serve you in the best ways possible. I'll stop here and open it up for
Questions. There is one question in the chat. Is there a number we can call for the on-call crisis counselor, or how would we find that number?
Yes, so you can I don't know it by heart, I'm being honest, but I will send the document that has the crisis counselor rotation to you. I can actually do it before I leave because it's on my phone. I'll send it to you, and can you disseminate it to Senate? Because it's the entire schedule. I'll send it to you.
Great, thank you. Thomas.
My question is two-part. One from first the faculty perspective, faculty/EO/staff, because I'm attorney to Senator, the alternate attorney Senator for academic affairs. So I'm gonna first start with that side. And then my second one will be, because it's not just one way, I also then I'm gonna turn it around to the faculty, so the fact and then the student perspective side. So my first point with faculty and staff is, so when I know, and especially since we definitely all understaffed, so what policies or practices you have in place? But if a faculty had a situation with a student, they were disruptive or someone, and now I know we might have a lot of behavioral issues. Public safety officer meeting them at the first level, what rubrics, what determination policies are available where, oh, this is taking my time, I'm busy. Okay, I spoke with the student, you can go back to class, it's fine, it's resolved. Because the faculty might not feel safe with that student after that incident being back in the class. Or is there a rubric that they say, we've looked at these criteria to indicate that there will not be, or there could be a potential, and then do the public safety follow up? Because it might then, they might say, oh, everything is resolved, and it's not. And then that can lead to other issues in the future where if there was some policy set. That's my first question. So, and then I can go back to the second one.
So that was actually a very good question, and I'm glad you asked it because a large part of what I've been doing since I've gotten here is helping folks understand that there is no LaGuardia student conduct policy. There is a CUNY student conduct policy, and we are guided by that because we are a unit of CUNY. And so everything below a certain threshold is discretionary in that if a student is disruptive or a student calls out and insults the professor, right? I can say, because through doing this, I know that doesn't rise to the level of us removing the student from school, right? Now, if a student is extremely disruptive, if the student damages property, if the student threatens your person, if the student assaults your person, that rises to the level of an immediate removal. And Christy will send out a document that I sent out, it's quite lengthy, explaining all of this because that question is a very common question. But to answer you, no, but besides the very extreme behavior, there is not a rubric that is in place. A lot of this is based on a few things. Is the student a repeater? I don't want to say repeater, I don't want to use that terminology. But if the student continues to engage in behavior after multiple warnings from my office, then that is a red flag that we need to enforce more. severe disciplinary action. If the faculty member states that they don't feel safe, they need to file an incident report. I've gotten a number of emails, I don't feel safe, file an incident report, because if this goes to hearing and there's no incident report, it's getting thrown out. Right, and so I've gotten some pushback, I don't want to do that. I'm like, no, if you really feel unsafe, you should file an incident report. That's the first thing. What that does is triggers a security response, which means that we implement a security net, which includes a public safety officer that continuously roles. There are concerns here about putting officers in classrooms, and I believe they're valid concerns, because we serve a population that doesn't always have the best experiences with law enforcement. And so to have an officer sitting in the classroom may be very difficult, or in some cases triggering for our students. So we implement the safety net. There's regular check-ins with the faculty person about whether or not there are repeat incidences, and all of that happens while the student is mandated to meet with me. So nothing is ever closed if a faculty member explicitly states they don't feel safe, right? And so most of the time, the student gets the email and they respond. But in the past 2 weeks, I've actually had 2 students who kind of ignored me, and I just blocked their access to campus. And so when they arrived and realized, oh, I can't come on campus, they magically found the email that I sent mandating them to come and meet with me. So that language is a red flag for us. And those safety things happen. And once again, immediate outreach to the student happens once we get that.
And then my second thing now from a student perspective is sometimes, so even though, and I'm faculty, so I don't want to probably get pushback, what I'm gonna say, but what happens, what do we have in place for faculty to be better trained in dealing with conflict and even, and in training to deal with students and prevention of behavioral issues that might come up? Because if I'm a faculty member and I'm speaking into a tone like that could trigger a student response that might not have been triggered. So what training do we have for faculty to understand how to deal with some conflicts that might arise? And it could be simply as easy as, not taking that tone where the student might think, oh, they're being spoken down to, or maybe like shutting the door or something, so it's like, what training do we have to make faculty a little bit more aware of how we can better be cognizant about potential issues that might arise and how we could deal with conflicts to prevent such outbursts.
Before you respond, let me, also, I think, excellent question. We'll have time for maybe 2 more questions. I was going to, in my chair's report, remind you that we are having our photograph taken at 4 o'clock, but now my chair's report's gotten delayed enough that the plan is for a group photo at around 4 when the photographer arrives. So we have time maybe for 2 more questions after a short response to this one.
No problem.
Okay.
So that is also a good question. And one of the things that I'm going to be honest with you, I've been trying to roll out, but I'm currently VP Dean and Conduct Officer. And it's very difficult. And I approached Billy about this and she was very receptive to it, or what we call student affairs refreshers.
Billy,
which is, yes, I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
Billy, the provost, and I've been speaking to her about that, is having workshops that are thematic, right? And so one workshop would be focused on conflict in the classroom. Another workshop would be focused on de-escalation. Another workshop would be focused on, when do I know this has reached a level where I should file an incident report, So, and they're literally my intention, and I emailed Billy about this, Billy and Ben actually about 3 weeks ago, I want to say. But in the interest of full transparency, I have not been able to get to it. The conduct issues this semester are,
taking all your time.
they're very diverse. Yeah.
Are there any, Elizabeth, another question? And I want to give the students especially a chance.
Me too.
So let me prioritize. Students, do you have any questions?
And don't tell the president what I said. Be between us and the rest of the Senate.
Okay, so I have a question about the Airbnb.
Mhm.
That is a crisis housing?
So it in some ways, yes, right? So what the Airbnb initiative allows us to do is to assist students who are transient, or in some cases homeless, as a result of a crisis like domestic violence, for example, or some other unexpected life circumstance. I won't bore you with all of the administrative details, but what happens is we have a partnership with Airbnb where they then place the equivalent of a gift card in the system or credit in the system for the amount you're approved for by the college. And then you will be able to secure long-term housing. Our stay is about 6 months. There are a number of things that we require students to do, particularly financial counseling during the stay, because the goal is to help educate you about how to handle money and how to handle financial crises as best as you can if they ever occur, even after you vacate the housing. Our funding for that was just depleted. And that is why I said we are now working with them to hopefully get additional money. Dr. Mouton actually informed me during this morning's turkey giveaway that we have reached pretty much the end of the funding for the Airbnb initiative.
Yeah, but my question is, are international students able to use it? Because they are highly likely to kick out because of their landlord. That's what happened to me in the previous college.
And you're an F1 student?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk more because you won't have sponsorship requirements and that
So
shouldn't be
let's-
happening.
yeah,
So your situation is a bit more, but the short answer is yes. All of our CARES resources are available to non-matriculated, matriculated and matriculated students, most of the resources, and to international students. But F1 students, there's some criteria that make your situation a bit more unique.
Let's, Zahara had a question also, and Elizabeth and Anthony had a question. I'm gonna take one more and then send me those questions and I will make sure that they get addressed and I will send you a response or we'll bring it back up at Senate next time. We may need to invite you back.
She will make sure I get them.
I will make sure you get them and that then you get the response, but I'm gonna let Zahara go ahead.
How can students studying online make a complaint to your office?
So you mean in online classes?
Yes.
Oh, so you can send an email. Well, it depends on what the complaint is
So like,
about.
assuming the professor says that this student is doing this and this,
Okay.
and like there's no evidence because assuming that person on Zoom. So
Okay.
how do you approach a situation?
So that sounds what I call conduct parallel. So you can send an email to our ombudsman, who you just met. And in some cases, students just go to the directory and sometimes they email me. And depending on what it is, I either respond or I route it to our ombudsman, who's very well connected. And tends to get responses in some cases faster than me. But if it is any treatment that you feel like is unfair or violates your rights as a student, absolutely. That's literally why the ombuds office exists.
So I can come with like a video from my class, because usually you put my classes.
So we have legal counsel here, and I don't know if, Maria, don't make that face at me. And the reason why, and I'm really not trying to put you in the spot, I just don't want to give wrong information. If your class is being recorded and everyone is aware, that's very different than you taking it upon yourself to record and no one is aware, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, in New York State, we need to put this out here, but it is the law. So, New York State is a one-party consent state. So that means as long as you are part of the interaction, the conversation, the class, you have the ability to record it. So without disclosing to everybody else that you did, but you have to be part of it. So it's not like you can, so if your friends, this is going on with your friend, and you're like, well, I'm gonna record it just to have evidence, you can't do that, you're not party to your friend is part of that class. So for you, you would be, so if you're talking about your class, you can go ahead and do that.
I wanted to make sure you got the right answer, because some states are not one-party consent states, and you have to let people know that you're being recorded, which is awesome.
So if there's other questions,
I'll get you the.
send them. Elizabeth have an important question.
I think into this question, it might be important.
We have photographers and you're ready. So ask it and I, as chair.
Decide.
Yes, we're gonna respond now. Or we're gonna respond. So what's my use question?
I'm ready. Go ahead. So I heard obviously you and Loophole talk a lot about student conduct. That was, somewhat surprising to me. I'm curious, was that because, you're seeing so many more student incidents among students and mental health crises, and or because of the small staffing problems that you have in your division? And so one of the times I'd love to hear about what student affairs is doing to, obviously improve our student experience make it more positive, memorable, supportive, and chat.
That's the work I would love to be doing, but unfortunately, or fortunately, safety is paramount, and that comes before giving out cookies and coffee at the entrance, right? So that's just the way it is. But I believe, I believe that the reason why we've seen an uptick, I'm using quotes, is that, you know, it's one of those things where if you dive into something and you want to get it right and you want to formalize operations and you want to coordinate and streamline, everything comes out the woodwork, which is what's supposed to happen, because you have to have a real clear view so you can figure out how to fix things or how to tighten things up. So I actually think what we're seeing is an uptick relative to former semesters based on what I've heard from colleagues. But I also think some of it is because we've changed our approach to conduct. And my approach is that every member of the campus community should be able to know what is happening if they report that they don't feel safe. And because of that, you naturally begin to respond to more things. So that's the other part of it.
Wouldn't that be nice? It was an interesting question. Please.
Well, when we record the classes, basically, we usually have the students fill it out, appearance witnesses. So just to be sure that nothing's gonna happen, so if any case, if you need, you can contact me and can provide.
Oh, that's awesome, because there are some campuses that don't do that. I won't name them. But there are some that don't do that, so I appreciate that.
Yes, super important, but go ahead, real fast. Cut it back.
I appreciated that you said there are no LaGuardia students, they're CUNY students. I appreciated that. But I also, and with that, I wanted to ask Luke, do you see students who are just matriculated, or do you also provide services to non-matriculated, AKA ACE students?
Good question, thank you for asking it. My VP wants to answer.
Yeah, I will. You know, Luke is my people. You're all my people, but Luke is my people. Right, well, no, Luke's my people. I prefer that term. So ACE, because it's a continuing ed throughout the university, actually has to adhere to city, state, federal law, which is required for all of our students. But Article 15 actually does not apply to ACE students, because Article 15 is for a specific subset of CUNY students, matriculated students, students in CUNY Start, and I always forget the third one. I think it's college. I want to say maybe college now.
Yeah.
But we get so little from CUNY Start in college now. I never remember knowing that clip, because clip is specific to continuing ed. So Sunil and I actually meeting about that now, how to streamline conduct processes, and I'm working with him to develop something that's ACE specific. And I have to tell you that this is good news for ACE, because that means you control what your conduct process will be. Absolutely. There are a lot of things that I do, my hands are tied by Article 15. That won't be the case with ACE.
Thank you.
However, ACE students do find their way to the ombuds
They
office.
do.
And we have an excellent working relationship with the deans in ACE, VP in ACE, and a lot of the program directors that we make referrals to.
I'm happy to hear the conversations are happening.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, we don't close our door to, or automatically turn away students. We help students find the resources that can really help regarding the differences that exist amongst policies by working with partners.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, and thank you both.
Thank you all
We
so
will have you
much.
back again. Yeah. Sounds good. All right, so, photographers here. Those of you at home, I'm sorry that you are not present. We still I have a chair's report, which isn't too long, but I have a couple important things to say. We also have at least a few committee reports. So I'm mindful, we have nothing to report. Rebecca has said, I've heard from a couple other committees with nothing to report, but I know there's some committee chairs there. So I'm sorry if you don't mind hanging on while we briefly gather wherever you think it works for a group photo that would be somewhat up to date. Not everyone will be present. For members of Senate, alternate senators and senators, let's get together wherever you recommend for a photo. And let's do it as quickly as we can because those at home are waiting.
Alright, so Derek Stradler sent an email about his report.
Great. So you can give it when he, at the end of the meeting, or when we're ready for committee reports. Yeah. So what do you recommend? Where would you like us?
Well, the projector, we just read up on it. Look it up.
We are gonna just ignore the.
Projectors, I would say probably over here. Oh, actually, no, because it has theirs somewhere and that's.
Yeah. So, this is the best.
Yeah, that's a projector.
We could. Can we just slide this over, move it out of the way?
Or just maybe on that, against that. It's the same. Over there is right here.
They must have got one.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That's good.
Even with my rock.
Small, yeah.
Hey, here you go.
No, please, I didn't have it.
Yeah. Oh, they don't know here. We come here. But like my cheese.
Here.
Oh, I didn't even see. She's such a kid and a senator. She's not.
On the count of 80, say same.
Yeah, otherwise, my cheese. All right, ready? 1, 2, 3, go.
Hey, you wrote down photo too, otherwise it's don't count, you have to redo it.
Trying to go up.
Exactly, I mean, no.
All right. Go on together, yes. Great. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go ahead.
All right, seats again. Not how I expected timing to go today, but here we are. Oh, yeah, get your coffee, get your cookie. First item in the chair's report, remember, group photo at 4 o'clock today. I am gonna ask you a question. And I want to show of hands. This is for faculty and staff. Last Wednesday's campus update. Did you see the Senate announcement about the new Senate leadership? Would you raise your hand if you saw the Senate update in the campus update in the new, that is a small, anybody at home? Rochelle saw it. I saw it because I was looking for it. Some of you saw it, most of you didn't. You had to scroll down a long way in that campus update to get there. I just wondered if it was effective, if it worked to let the campus know who the executive committee of the Senate is, and some saw, some didn't. It's on the website. In the past, I sent out an email announced to the, the whole college email, and I'm trying to not do that. That's what the campus update is for. If you think I should still do that, let me know. But that was my little survey to see how that went. Two more things. One, just reminding, I think I mentioned this last time, but I want to let you know the transition process has begun to welcome the EAB is the name of the company. Navigate is the system. It is a CUNY-wide system now available to community colleges that is going to replace C2C and SEMS, the SEM system for communication. It will, and Rochelle is president of faculty council, and I have been invited to participate. I have worked hard to get a couple members of the Senate's IT advisory committee involved instead of myself. Fall of 2024, so next fall, the new system will be in place. C2C and SEMS are homegrown LaGuardia developed systems, and CUNY does not like colleges to do their own thing. It's supposed to be good, who knows, but know that there are a number of people involved. The vice presidents are involved, the provost involved, a number of people at the campus are involved in trying to get that system ready to meet the needs of the college, so you know that it's coming, and and there'll be training and all of that. So it will be a soft launch will be in the summer, and the full thing should be in effect in the fall. For students, it will be how you make appointments with whoever you need, whatever faculty or staff office you need to see. So it's that kind of communication device. So you know that's coming. The other thing I wanted to say, and this is especially for faculty and staff, but our students can listen in too. Most of you know that human resources, there has been a letter circulated by the PSC chapter with concerns about how human resources functions are operating at the college. Signatures were sought. It was forwarded to President Adams with signatures. I did not sign. And it was brought to my attention by a colleague who noticed that I, in my role as Senate chair or as an individual, did not sign the letter with some concern. It led me to do a lot of reflection about, I don't know if that choice was a good one or not, but I wanted to share with you my thinking about the role of Senate and my role as chair of Senate and this very serious issue about problems within the implementation of HR policies at LaGuardia. I have watched it unfold. I've heard about the concerns. Throughout it, I've been thinking, is this a Senate issue? How is that, does this somehow involve Senate, relate to Senate? And I did not see that it did, because it is about implementing both policy that's been decided on by the union through union negotiation, the union contract, through state and federal laws, and a lot of it, and it all deals with personnel. And Senate doesn't involve itself in that. So that was part of my thinking. I did not see a role for Senate in addressing it. It seemed fully appropriate that it's a union issue. After making that initial decision, when the letter was circulated, I had there's two additional thoughts. The one way that I could see Senate getting involved in the issue is if someone brought it to the attention of me or the executive committee and said, I think we should do something. I think we should pass a resolution. I think we should join in making ourselves heard on this. And then that would be something that we would consider as a Senate. No one brought it to me at all. At first I thought, oh, should I have done something? And then I'm like, wait, that's not my role as chair is not to write resolutions, right? I need to, if the Senate body brings it to the executive committee, we'll consider it, we'll see what we can do. No one did. The other thing I want you to know, though, is that I have a seat on the president's cabinet. In that role, I have access to and interaction with and influence with the administration of the college. And I, with Rochelle, have already had, some individual conversations about this. So we have a way, which you won't see, I can't necessarily describe in detail, but we have opportunity to say, so, hey, what's going on? And what, to interact about this. And we have taken that action already. The other way that we are involved is that I have been consulted with regarding a search committee for the permanent HR director. Our current HR director is interim. Permanent HR director, a search will begin. Last Senate meeting, I talked about it. I got they wanted a faculty member. I got some faculty volunteers. The process is still unfolding in deciding who that person will be. As soon as I know at the next Senate meeting, I'll let you know. And the people who volunteered, you'll find out. I will let those who were not. I don't know if you know how complicated it is to put together a search committee. There's a lot of diversity requirements regarding it, and the process is slow. And that is unfortunate, but I am involved in that discussion too, through my role as chair of the Senate, have been consulted about that by the VP of Administration and Finance, Shahir Irfan, who is over HR. The last thing that I will say is when it came to actually seeing the letter and deciding if I was going to put my name on it, I don't know if my thinking was right, but this was my thinking. I am very visible in this campus as the chair of the College Senate. The action that I take, I know because of those college-wide emails that I send here and there. I was mindful that I would be representing the Senate, and I did not feel like it was my position to put my name there in a way that might be construed as the Senate coming alongside of this. If the Senate wants to take an action, that's something the Senate needs to consider. I felt too visible in my role to lend my name. And that, I'm not sure if that was the best decision, but that's so. If I was just another senator, or, it wouldn't have been a big deal. But because of my role as chair of the Senate, I chose to keep, I am convinced that the role of unions is very important and essential. The role of a Senate is different, and I want to keep those functioning in their complementary but different roles. So all those things led to me to make that decision. I would ask that we not discuss this issue here because we have new student senators for whom this is irrelevant. It is not directly a matter of Senate business. But if you have concerns or want to raise issues, it is the Committee of Staff and Alumni and the Committee of Faculty that might be the best places for those discussions. And then if you would like to bring something to the full Senate, definitely let me know and we'll bring it up with the executive committee. So that is the end of my chair's report. I welcome you to give me feedback or ask me questions about it later, but I don't want to take more time in the meeting for that discussion. So the last piece of our meeting are our committee reports. And I'm going to run through, I'm going to skip those who I know have no report. Is there a report for the Committee on Campus Affairs?
No, no report.
No report. Committee of Faculty, we have a new chair, Daniel Gertner. Thank you so much. Is there a report?
And just real quick, I do want to apologize for not emailing about our meeting that's not happening today. So they will happen in the next one. So I do apologize for that. I'm going to get a list of everybody and to send out emails and email did all that. So I do apologize. We just essentially talked about things that we talked about in Senate today about the coach survey, bringing up issues of campus security and campus, how the faculty feel. And so we're going to keep talking about that. I know what we also discussed the Academic Freedom Committee. The UFS is working on a handbook, and we're still looking for members who want to join that other committee.
Great. The Academic
Freedom Committee. So if you do, please.
Thank you. And that's something for the committee on committees to know how to. Thank you. And a reminder, if you are a faculty member and a senator or an alternate senator, you are invited and strongly encouraged to attend the meetings of the Committee of Faculty. The next meeting will be after a Senate meeting on the 20th.
And also, it's going to be hybrid. So
yeah,
we encourage you to come in person, but you cannot. We'll have a
Zoom
computer set up with microphone. All of that.
And the same encouragement to the Committee of Staff and Alumni for senators who are in the staff or alumni category and the Committee of Students as well. Committee on Professional Development, Derek sent a report. Go ahead.
So Derek sent a little lengthy report, but he said the next meeting is going to be on Monday, November 13th at 11 a.m. To 1 p.m. And the next Harvard Research consortium is going to be held in spring 2024. The Faculty and Staff Excellence Awards Subcommittee is developing a plan for nomination of awardees, including developing the survey forms for nominations. There's also creating a committee of elections for Faculty and Staff Excellence Awards that will develop criteria, timeline, and procedures for nominating the winner. The last thing is Diversity and Inclusion Subcommittee will meet tomorrow, Thursday, November 9th.
Thank you very much. We're going to add those to the minutes so you can review them. Budget and Finance Committee. Patricia, that's why you're here.
Okay, so you want the good news or the bad news? So, the good news is that for the fiscal year 2023, LaGuardia did its college audit. So LaGuardia, their funds were, all college funding and accounts were audited, nothing to report by the outside auditor. So we are all good. Once the audit is reported and approved by the Board of Trustees, the links will be put on the website. Because again, as you can see on the campus website, the budget is going to be, there will be a link to the budget information as soon as it's done. So that's one thing. First, the other thing, we welcome a new member in our committee, and that's Roman Sankoff here from Natural Sciences. So that's it. The student payments, last year, the college planned to increase the collection rate by 3 million, and we're on a good track to do it. So because also there are new student payment plans that are available to students that come from CUNY that are available, so that streamline the process of trying to get a payment plan rather than, you can still go to the bursar and work it out in person, but CUNY has set in place 3 things. Balance of more than 6 months or 9 months. The student has a choice to do that. LaGuardia opted for 6 month and 9 month payment. There's a flat fee of $50, but you can get that going. There's an international student plan payment too now available for students provided by Convera, so students can wire the money. So another way to make sure that they can pay. And there's a third-party student loan option called the ELM resource. And lastly, Apple Pay is coming in April 2023. For students, tuition, so all this should help students. Okay. Budget deficit. Now, the not so good news. LaGuardia is one of the schools that will be okay for 2023-2024 fiscal year because we still have funding from the CUNY CARES and for those stimulus payments we got. Now, the issue will be next year, and just to report on what the UFS discussion is, and all of you can have access to the UFS University Faculty Senate blog. And John Rosani, the chair of the UFS, gave a very good report on what's happening in CUNY. The deficit is structural deficit on 101 million. Good news, it's down from 117 million. The city is going to impose a way to sort of close the gap. So whichever way it will come at some point. In response to that deficit, John Rosani lists what's being done at other institutions across the country, and everything is about streamlining campuses, cutting majors, department majors, merging, trim positions. So across the country on gaps about financial statements, that's what's happening. And at the last UFS, the chancellor was there and said the discussion will take place in November about what's going to happen.
This
I was cute. How CUNY is going to sort out its structural deficit. There is a new vice president for financial affairs since Kansas left. Christine Schiappa was the interim president, but they've just put somebody else in, and that person will have to think about how to close the deficit, whether you increase revenues or you decrease expenses. That's about the only way to do it.
Yeah. Thank you, Patricia. On that happy note. Moving on, Committee of Staff and Alumni, any report?
So we have a meeting scheduled for November 20th at 2 p.m.
Great, thank you. Committee of Students, Sojan, do you have any report?
Not yet, because we're having our first meeting on November 29th.
First meeting on November 29th. Very good, thank you. Grants Committee, I don't see anyone. Yes.
I think real quick on that one. So a meeting's gonna be held, another one's gonna be held on November 20th. So we had a meeting a couple weeks ago. We are just gonna go ahead and generate some documentation to give the faculty to help with the basics of transferring, and then we'll figure out exactly our role.
Yeah.
Soon.
In light of the new transfer council and all this going on here. Sounds good. All right, thank you. And we heard there was a report in, oh no, there's no report for the food insecurity and justice and community need. And except that Rebecca says watch for food and fund drive information for the holidays. IT Advisory Committee, I think both co-chairs have had to leave. History Committee, known here. Online Learning Committee, any report? Sandra.
Well, we met with them last meeting, and she said that actually starting a orientation for students taking online classes. And we are in our next meeting, we decided we the greens are.
Sounds good. Thank you, Sandra. And Senate Assessment and Review Committee. No, any report?
No report.
All right, and Advising Council, I didn't, Jeannie's not here today. I heard from her. So that ends our committee reports. We have no unfinished business. We have no time for new business, unfortunately, I know, but we will make time. We have 2 minutes for new business. Is there any new business? Yes, Patricia.
I have a question, and maybe some of you will be able to answer it, and maybe it's not new business, otherwise I think it's a campus affairs, is why we can't have small copies at Starbucks. Coffee is about this much, they don't have the AMs.
So here we go. Let's see campus affairs.
It's small, but it's bigger than an 8 ounce.
So we need small copies. I will, there is a new RFP, which I don't know what an RFP is. This summer, a new RFP is gonna be, for now, produced to seek a new food vendor for our college. And maybe we can include small copies in the RFP. Any other new business? Okay. Any announcements? I'm looking, oh, yes, Lisa.
So I don't know if this is here, but I did want to mention that I think, Nada, she's like, and Rhonda, she provide, and this is with a free pantry to provide, dog and products to people that are in need of that as well. And so if anyone's interested in donating things like those, that company can talk about that or.
Oh, that's good. All right, thank you, Lisa. Any other announcements? Yes.
So it's for the donation, so we have a site in LHI. But LHI, we're holding a donation drive for the Day of Giving, November 28th. So we ask that anybody that's willing, you know, be able to submit any toiletry items, all donations, the proceeds are gonna go to LaGuardia.
That's good. All right.
And it's also CUNY Tuesday, since we're all about the spirit of giving.
When?
CUNY Tuesday, November 28th is CUNY Tuesday.
All
We
right.
are participating. You'll find information in campus updates and in your inbox very soon.
Very good, very good.
In support of students, of course.
Yes. All right. I think that is the amount. Yes, Carlos.
Yes, I tell everybody, but again, in case you want to put everything in social media or on the website, or your, you know.
All your announcements.
And everything,
Great.
please go to the website.
On there, and it's the Division of Communication and External Affairs website, and there's a link for submitting announcements.
I can see you.
Sure. Sounds good. All right, you've made it. We've all made it. There is, after the meeting is adjourned, an essential item of business to attend to, which is electing a chair for the Committee on Committees. Okay? So if you are a newly elected member of the Committee on Committees, one of whom is on Zoom, would the rest of you maybe gather around and try, you can even gather around my computer and use that or use this and try and decide about who might want to chair that committee. Otherwise, do we need a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Yes?
I move that we adjourn. I move that we adjourn the meeting for today.
And I second.
Second, all in favor? All right, thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Oh. All right, Committee on Committee folks, why don't you gather? Yes. Committee on Committees. Amy, why don't you come up here by my computer? Back on so, but you could probably. On November 20th. Javier, and Amy, why don't you come up here and then.
Hi.
Anybody here?
Thank you.
That way. So, here, go ahead.
Elizabeth is just gonna join us. We're here to elect the chair. Yes, okay. Can maybe at this point, does anybody want to? Oh, fantastic. Leslie is raising her hand. Done. Are we done?
Leslie, are we done? Good? We just need to.
Really? There's no one else? Yeah.
Is anybody here? Does anybody else want to go against Leslie? You do not have any detractor. Elizabeth too. I think we got 6. We ended up getting 6.
Okay.
Do we need 6? We're at 6. We'll see if I find another number.
Oh, got it. Got it, okay.
Yeah, let's not break it 6. I think we're good.
Okay.
We, Elizabeth, Leslie has volunteered to be the chair. Do you?
I need to accept her.
We move. Tell us, Chair, what to do next.
Okay, so really we have to get a list of what the current committees look like as far as membership. And then we'll I'll set up a meeting on Zoom to look at that, to make sure that the committees are evenly diversified. And then we can go from there as far as what role everybody wants to play and who you want to communicate with if we need to fill a committee.
Fantastic.
So no stress.
Glad you know what we're doing.
Thank you so much for leading us. We need it. Okay, you tell us what we need to do.
Well, I'll be at the next Senate meeting in person. I just had a conflict today, so I look forward to chatting with you all in person. But yes, we'll meet on Zoom. We'll meet on Zoom.
All right, thanks, Leslie.
Thanks,
See you
Chair.
next time.
Thanks, boss.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you
right.
all for volunteering. Liz.
At LADC.
Because I think that's the one thing that they can just.